What's up, everyone? How are all you beautiful people doing on this fine afternoon? Sometimes I like to drink beverages with my pinky out. Yeah! So welcome to my new room. Finally. This has been an extremely exhausting process. So this new studio is in my house. It's a new house that we had built. It took 5 months to build the house. There was a whole bunch of structural things, crazy subfloor and, doubled and tripled up floor joists and big beams, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that went into this room structurally that unfortunately won't be in this video because I wasn't even doing YouTube at the time that we started construction on all this stuff. I was not at all focused on YouTube. So you can go check it out on my Instagram, at Colt Capperrune. There is a few studio build highlights where I was Insta-storing every single step of the progress. So hit me up on Instagram. You can see all of that. Or I'm going to put a link in the description below. I pulled that video from my Instagram, and it is now an earlier video on my YouTube channel, even though it's just a ripped video from my Insta story. But at least you can see it. You can see all the structural things, all the craziness that ensued in building this room. But this video is from when I got the keys to the new house and what I did to it and how I did the fabric wall system, whole bunch of time-lapse stuff. And then at the end of the video, we're going to talk about some things that I learned while doing this build. And we're going to talk about a few things that I wish I would have done differently and I wish I would have known before I built this. This is my third studio build, third or fourth. I lose track. It's been a lot of years. But at this point, there's still things that I learn every single time. And so there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff in this video about that. And then we're going to talk more about it at the end. So stick around to the end. Let's time travel back to when I first walked in this room, did my first listen, and let's get this room built. Even though it's kind of, I guess it's built now. You get it. You get what I'm saying. Okay, so we're all set up to do first listening test. Now, obviously there's some real issues with the room. Apparently I can't snap, so there's zero acoustic treatment anywhere. This is like step number one. Put everything in, get a pair of speakers set up, play some music, listen back, walk around the room, see what the room sounds like where, and then it really helps you have a starting point to know how to treat from that point on. Insta story time. If y'all don't follow me on Instagram, go hit me up on Instagram. I post lots of fun stuff. This is one of my more favorite songs to judge a system because it just sounds so good. Okay, so then something that you always want to do is walk around and see if there's any low end issues, where the room sounds real funky, where it sounds thin or hollow, and then we make notes of that. So as far as my ears can tell, and from all the rooms I've been in and all the rooms I've tuned and treated, this room has like the flattest low end of any room I've ever treated. So the low end, so I walked around the room, the low end, it sounded exactly the same in every position. Now obviously we'll get some measurement equipment and we'll start measuring stuff and figure, it will be much more scientific, but obviously we have all these reverb issues to take care of. Gonna have to do all the first reflection points. That's always my starting point, is get all my first reflection points knocked out. And then from there, we'll test it and see what kind of bass traps that we need and diffusion, and just start working through it and tweaking stuff until it sounds really good. But I don't think we're gonna have any low end issues at all in this room. Really pumped about that. That's awesome. That means that wrapping this room up and tuning it should be pretty easy. So, first listen in the books. Those are heavy. So this is 8-pound mineral wool. 8-pound mineral wool. 8-pound mineral. This is some 8-pound mineral wool. That's just gonna have to do, because that's as much as I can say. It's off to a good start.
Look at that. My track showed up for the fabric wall. Let's see what it looks like.
Oh boy. That is super sketchy packaging.
Oh, Jesus.
Those are heavy. Let's get this unpacked. So there it is. So that's what it looks like. That's the end of it. Yeah, so you mount this on the wall and you lay your insulation in here, and then your fabric wraps over and gets tucked in here. Looks pretty good. So I got the first bit of track hung. I can't tell you how bad this pains me to be in a brand new place, and I'm about to tear all that trim off. I'm saying we. I'm the only one here. I got most of the track up. I'm working on these outlets here. This kicked my ass. I'm not gonna lie. This really kicked my ass. So an issue, if you can see this here, this is what I've come up with, is you've got your track, right? And this sticks out 2 inches from the wall because the insulation is 2 inches. But what do you do with your outlets? And so I went through a bunch of different ideas, as you can see, trying to figure out how to fur these outlets out. Let's just sit down and talk about it. So the deal is that if you don't space your outlets out, then the fabric doesn't actually run in a flat line all the way across. And so you've got to have your outlet plate, whatever, face plate, and it has, and the outlets and the plate have to be able to mount to something, right? That holds them out and keeps them held firmly in place. And so here's the real issue. This track is exactly 2 inches. Like, we put a tape measure on it, it's 2 inches. Unlike lumber, which is not ever actually 2 inches. So if I couldn't use 2x4s because it was too short, you also couldn't use 2 1x1s or any normal lumber at all. So rather than order something and sit around and wait, because I don't have time to wait, I just started using the actual track. And that is a real pain to get it cut, the right way, and there's a lot of waste when doing it because you're cutting a 45-degree angle off of every single corner all the way around. But that's where I'm at with it. Still waiting on my fabric, which is a little frustrating. That hasn't even shipped yet, so hopefully I get that worked out, because at this point, I'm gonna have everything else completely done and be waiting on fabric. But anyway, that's where we're at. So, hope you're enjoying this. So today, we're gonna do a bunch more work, and I got the ceiling cloud almost done, so there's that. And I had someone shoot me a message the other day after I posted on Instagram the lights that I got for my ceiling cloud, that they thought they had the same ones and they've had issues with them buzzing. I ain't about that life, so I'm gonna go temporarily wire one up and plug it in and make sure that it's nice and quiet. I think it's right over here. These are what I got. Look at that little thing. These. This is exactly what I got right there. I think they're cool because they have switchable color frequencies. Color frequencies. Whew. I'm so sleep deprived, y'all. I'm just killing myself trying to get this place up and running. I got clients that are on deadlines, and so I picked these because they have selectable color temperatures, and they're dimmable, and they were small. So it seemed like a cool thing, easy to install, easy to put into a ceiling cloud. So let's go temporarily wire one up and see how this goes. It's nothing quite like a nice, scratchy, itchy workbench, because I don't have a workbench yet. Okay, now our temporary solution. Let's hope I don't get electrocuted. It's really hard to get that plugged in. Oh, that's badass. They are super quiet. Basically no can lights of any kind come in black, or no recessed lighting of any kind. Super annoying. So I'm gonna have to paint these. Pretty excited because my fabric finally got here for the studio. I've been waiting on this fabric forever, it feels like. I'm gonna go pick up the fabric. That's the last thing that I'm waiting on. The ceiling cloud is almost done. Stonework is done. The track is done. It's time to do the itchy stuff. Is this how the doctors do it? right, y'all. Insulation is all up. You can hear the crazy difference. I still gotta clean this place up. What a mess. What kind of crazy, messy person am I? Yeah, it sounds really good in here. There's still a little bit of an issue with a standing wave from floor to ceiling right here. So that is just temporary, because eventually I'm gonna put the booth over there. So I just had to get up and running. That will get pulled down when I do the booth. Yeah. Other than that, we're looking good, and it sounds really good in here. Like I said, there's a little bit of a standing wave floor to ceiling, but the ceiling cloud is gonna cover more than the entire flat ceiling. So that will get completely taken care of. We're in a good spot. It sounds good in here. I'm impressed. I like the way that it sounds. Just wanted to give an update. First fabric panel is up, but I'm very much stoked about how this turned out. Look at that. That's what's up right there. I'm very, very stoked about that. That is super clean, 0 wrinkles in the fabric. It's turning out better than I thought, however, a little slower than I thought. But I'm just so stoked. I've been waiting on this fabric for so long. I'm so stoked to finally actually be hanging it and doing something. It really finally makes it feel like I'm getting some real progress going here. We're gonna finish this thing today. I was trying that Bang energy drink yesterday. It's just too healthy. There's like no carbs and no sugar. Screw that. I want to feel my arteries clogging as I'm drinking. Get off. Fabric is done. Took so long. Took so much longer than I expected. But we got her in. I am beyond exhausted. But fabric is in. I've got this ceiling cloud right here. I've got to get that. I got to build a couple stands for the ceiling cloud because it's too big. So I got to build some stands so I can flip it upside down and set it on the stands and work on it that way. Let's do that now. So that was the build. It was pretty intense. I was beating myself up pretty good, and I was just completely exhausted. I was working all day, every day, while babysitting, and nights and weekends, and you know, it was intense. I had some clients that were in a rush to get some stuff out, and I always do my very best to accommodate my clients and make sure that I can do what needs to be done to suit their needs. So I was just killing myself trying to get this room up. But anyway, here we are. After the booth goes in, which we're going to talk about in a second, after the booth goes in and I finish up a little bit more acoustic treatment, I'll have a real acoustician in here and we will measure the room in much greater detail. But I have some measurement software that came with my event Opals that does a pretty good job of just giving you an idea of where you are, and it felt the whole time through the process, it felt like the room was really flat, and so I'm very pleased to say that it is extremely flat. Actually, let's just go look at it real quick. So this is the measurement software that came with my event Opals, and this is where it came out to be. There is a little bit of a hump, 2.5 dB at like 62, 50, 60, 62 probably. And then obviously this is the octave down right here. So, you know, we're looking at 32. That's probably 64 then, because that looks more like 32. So we are 2.5 dB at 64, and we are 3 dB at 32. And that is it. It is extremely flat other than that. So my requirements for this new space was 4 things. I needed 4 things, and we looked at a ton of spaces trying to find these 4 things that fit what it is that I was after. One needed a separate entrance. If you haven't seen my home studio video, there's another link in the description for my previous home studio video that was talking about my last studio setup and how it was an apartment, and it was crazy. But one of the big drawbacks to that was not having a separate entrance. Is clients having to walk through my living room and through my kitchen to get to the studio, and there in that video I talked about like the status issues that you can come up against when having a home studio. And the biggest one of the biggest parts of that is not having a separate entrance, is not having a dedicated entrance that keeps your life separate from your studio, from your work. So the things that I really needed for this new space was a separate entrance. I needed a bigger space because my last room was super small. I needed a bigger space. I needed my own dedicated studio bathroom, and I really wanted my own dedicated studio HVAC. Those were the requirements. We looked and looked and looked, and we couldn't find anything that met all of those requirements, along with, us actually being okay with the house, the rest of the house itself. And so it ended up just making sense to build, and I never in my whole life thought that I would ever build a new house. I never thought I'd be able to afford to do that. But the real estate market here in Nashville is just absolutely crazy. It's completely absurd. And so this house, built from scratch the way we wanted it, ended up being cheaper than any single house that we looked at to buy that already existed. And then I would have had to tear a whole bunch of stuff apart and redo a whole bunch of stuff, potentially structurally even, in order to make it work for what I needed. And so this was, building was actually a way better and way more cost-effective option, which is crazy to me. So the track that I used for the fabric wall system is from fabric-wall.com, fabric wall. In my previous video, which is link in description, that I talked about my acoustic treatment, I went over the fabric wall system and that, so make sure you go check that video out. I talk about how it goes up and, things that I liked and didn't like about it and why I went with fabric wall instead of fabric mate. So make sure you check that video out if you're interested in the fabric wall system. A whole bunch of good info there. The fabric that I used is from Guilford of Maine. It's from their Anchorage collection. Kind of sounds like some wine drinking, cork sniffing, I don't know. It sounds way too bougie for me. But it's from the Anchorage collection by Guilford of Maine. It's a specific fabric that is, it's acoustic fabric. So things that I wish I would have done differently, there's a couple things actually. The first one is the power. Let me just pan up to this. The first one is the power for this ceiling cloud. I wish that I would have put the power in the ceiling for the ceiling cloud further back towards the front wall, because I planned it out to be right in the center of the ceiling cloud, which makes it impossible to get to once the ceiling cloud is hanging, and I just didn't think of that. So we wired it up, which you already saw. We wired it up before we hung the ceiling cloud, so it got wired and then hung. I wish I would have moved that power towards the front wall. That would have made a lot more sense, would have made it accessible after the fact. And I have the option to do that now with the power for the second ceiling cloud, which would be right over my head where I'm sitting now, that is not up yet, won't go up until the booth is done. The other thing that I really wish I would have done, and I didn't think about it honestly, I wish that I would have put bigger doors in. All the doors, there's 3 doors that you walk in to get from outside into this room. And they're all just standard average doors. They're not small doors, but we built from scratch, and I really wish it wouldn't have cost anything more to put bigger doors in. And I really wish I would have done that. I wish I would have put, 36 or 40-inch doors in everywhere. I'm a little bummed about that, if I'm being completely honest. Something that I just didn't think about beforehand. I wish I would have put bigger doors in. So the 2 things that I still need to do, which I had to get up and running for my clients, but I still need to do the booth, which, to be real honest with you, I'm on the fence about even doing the booth at this point, because I like tracking vocals with someone right in the room, right next to me. And so I'm almost on the fence now, which I've been working that way for a long time. And I work in plenty of big studios where I track vocals in a booth or in the live room, and I'm in the control room. I do that all the time. So I'm comfortable both ways. But I think I kind of prefer it to where the singer is standing, right, 5 or 6 feet away from me. We'll see if the booth goes in. But once I decide if the booth is going in, or once I put the booth in, then the back half of the room here will get the fabric wall system as well. And so it'll be 100% absorption everywhere, which, by the way, I've had some people ask about that. This room is 24 by 26, and it's got 12-foot ceilings. In a room this size, I don't have any issues, and it's hardwood floor too, which makes a big difference. If it was all carpet, I would really need some diffusion in here, I think, but it sounds really good the way that it is. I've got no issues with it being all absorption like it currently is. So if you went to my Instagram and if you watched the studio build highlights from my Insta stories, make sure you go check that out. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. But I have a lounge that will get a wet bar. It's right next to the bathroom. There'll be a TV and video games and all kinds of stuff in there, and that'll be a secondary set for filming for this YouTube thing. That's not done yet. The room is done, but there's no flooring in there yet because I haven't put the wet bar actually in yet, and so I need to do that yet. That's what's next on the list, actually. So we got the ceiling cloud up here. That ceiling cloud is 8 by 11. We got lights in it and fabric wall system here, which check out the other video that I talk all about the fabric wall system, but it is very, very clean and looks really great. Yeah, so I'm just very pumped to have this much extra space. It's so wonderful. I got my ISO cab over there. That is the quietest ISO cab on planet Earth. That will become a video very, very soon. Guitar World set up right here, right on my side, so that way I can reach over, flip everything on, everything stays wired in. You know, pedals, my Lauren audio pedals. Ugh, love them. Friedman, third power. Iconic guitar. This guitar is so silly. Did I say that already? If you've been on my channel, you've probably seen me say that, but good Lord. Coil audio pre's, a whole bunch of pedals. Monitor stands are totally temporary because this room is so much bigger than what I was in that I had to get myself in the right monitoring position. So I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do desk-wise here. I might go mastering style with the desk. But I'm going to figure all that out and then work out the plan for the desk and the monitor stand simultaneously. So this is what I'm rocking currently. Is obviously temporary. Don't kill me in the comments, please. Event Opals, NS10s, Oratone 5Cs. Use all of them just about equally. Like, they all sound great. Rack gear. Got a whole bunch of Cappy, Serpent, Tube Tech, whole bunch of cool stuff, keyboards, microphones. So currently I'm having singers stand over here. Got some mics set up for a mic shootout that we did just the other day for a singer. And so I'm sitting right there, and I really like sitting there and having the singer right here. It's great. Set up for an acoustic as well because the singer was coming in tracking acoustic, and then they just jump up here and record vocals. So the back half of the room is a little unfinished. The booth will go right there. YouTube light, look at that. Little couch, and then the entire rest of the back of this room here. There'll be a nice ceiling cloud there still. Back of this room will get finished off with the same fabric wall system that the rest of the room has. And so yeah, that's what's left for in this room. But that is where we are at. That is my epic home studio build. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the comments and all the thumbs up, and thank you guys so much for subscribing and hitting the bell icon next to it. I'm truly blown away by how ridiculous this YouTube thing has been going. I appreciate it so much. Like, it means the world to me. It really does. So I'm hoping all these videos help. Check out a whole bunch of the other content if you haven't seen it yet. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, or maybe on Instagram or something. So peace.